Hello, I'm here with Helen, and this week, we've been talking about the parable of the two sons. And Helen, what is the parable of the two sons, and what's Jesus talking about?
So in this parable that Jesus tells, there are two sons, and their father goes to one of them and says, "Will you go out and do some work for me?" And the son says, "No, I won't do it." But then later he goes and he does the thing that his father has asked him to do. Whereas with the second son, the father asks him, and the second son says, "Yeah, sure, I'll go and do that thing," and then he just does not do it. And so Jesus is telling this parable to a group of Pharisees, high priests, not high priests, but like chief priests, and some common people in the kind of temple area.
Sweet. Okay, so it's fancy people, really. Fancy people. Okay, what does that mean for us as normal people who go to church on Sunday?
I think this is one of those parables where it's not completely clear to us today what Jesus is talking about, especially when we get the parables as we get them in kind of church readings where it's just on its own. But we need to be aware of the fact that these parables are said to a certain crowd at a certain time. So in this case, Jesus is telling this parable in the temple area. He's telling it after he's done the thing where he goes into the temple and he flips the tables and he tells the moneylenders to get out. And he tells it after he has just had a discussion with some Pharisees about who John the Baptist was. And in that discussion, they're kind of trying to figure out if Jesus thinks he's the Messiah and stuff like that. And so we need to remember that kind of all that stuff that's going on around them. So Jesus is telling this parable, and later in this chapter of Matthew, we actually hear that the Pharisees recognise that these parables are being told about them. So what this parable means, I think, is that Jesus is basically accusing the Pharisees of being hypocrites. Because the Pharisees, like that second son, they go around saying, "We follow God, we follow the law, we do all these great things." But actually what they're doing is they're making everything so much harder for everyone else who's trying to follow God. So they're the second son who is kind of saying, "I'm going to follow you," but then they don't, and they don't go to John, they don't get baptised, they don't follow Jesus. Whereas the prostitutes, the tax collectors, and all those people, the people that look like from the outward appearance that they aren't following God, they aren't keeping the law, they are a little bit naughty, etc., etc. Outward appearances say they are not following God. But when Jesus comes up, when John the Baptist shows up, they're the people that go and get baptised, and they're the people that follow Jesus, and so they're that first son. And so I think for us today, we need to be aware of that kind of that strand of hypocrisy that can sometimes emerge in kind of faith communities.
Sweet, wicked. So I guess Jesus is really saying, it's way more about what's in our heart and what we're feeling than what we give out, because that's what's true.
Yeah.
Sweet. Wicked. So we'll be back next week. Thanks for listening.